Admiral Vex-Tar stood before the massive display screen in the Grand Council chambers. His blue skin glowed softly in the dim light as he prepared to deliver the final report. Around the curved table sat 11 other beings, each representing the most powerful species in the galaxy. They had come here to decide the fate of a small planet called Earth. The chamber itself was enormous. It floated in space above a neutral world, spinning slowly to create artificial gravity. Through the clear walls, thousands of stars twinkled in the darkness. But today, all attention focused on the data streaming across the main screen. Council members, Vex-Tar began, his voice calm and precise. I present the final assessment of species 2847C. Known to themselves as humans, General Thrak, a massive creature covered in thick armor plates, leaned forward in his chair. His species, the Korthak, had conquered 40 star systems through pure military might. Get to the point. Vex-Tar. Are they a threat or not? Vex-Tar touched a control panel. Images appeared on the screen showing human cities, their primitive spacecraft, and their simple weapons. After 50 years of observation since first contact, we have reached a definitive conclusion. Humans pose no significant military threat to the galactic hegemony. A soft humming sound filled the chamber as ethereal prime mind Zephyr communicated through psychic waves. The ancient being's thoughts reached every council member at once. Show us their military capabilities. The screen changed to display human warships. They looked crude compared to the sleek vessels of the hegemony. The largest human ship was barely 1/10 the size of a standard council destroyer. Their hulls were thick and blocky, covered with strange symbols and markings. Their technology is primitive, Vex-Tar explained, pointing at the ships. They still use chemical rockets for basic propulsion. Their energy weapons are weak plasma cannons that would barely scratch our shield systems. Their faster-than-light drives are crude and unreliable. Elder Kor thus, whose species had been traveling between stars for 10,000 years, tapped the table with one of his 6 arms. What about their numbers? Limited, Vex-Tar replied. Our scouts have identified exactly 237 combat vessels in their entire fleet. Most of these are small patrol craft, suitable only for asteroid mining or short-range defense. They have no ships larger than what we would classify as a light cruiser. The data scrolled past on the screen. Human population numbers, their industrial capacity, their energy output, all of it far below galactic standards. According to every measurement the Council used to evaluate military threats, humans ranked as barely more dangerous than the primitive species they had encountered on the Outer Rim. Their tactics are predictable, Vex-Tar continued. We have observed their military exercises and recorded their strategic doctrines. They favor direct confrontation, usually with massed formations of ships attacking in straight lines. Their commanders show little creativity or flexibility in battle planning. Commander Silana, whose crystalline form reflected light in rainbow patterns, spoke in musical tones. What of their defensive capabilities? Minimal. The screen showed human space stations and planetary defense platforms. Their shields are basic energy barriers that can be overwhelmed by any standard hegemony weapon. Their armor is primitive metal alloys. Their sensor systems are so limited they cannot detect our stealth ships beyond 20,000 kilometers. General Thrak laughed, a sound like grinding rocks. My personal battle cruiser could destroy their entire fleet, single-handed. That may not be an exaggeration. Vex-Tar agreed. Our quantum prediction matrices have run over 10 million combat simulations. In every scenario, human resistance collapses within 4 hours of engagement with a standard enforcement fleet. The council members exchanged glances. Some looked amused, others merely bored. They had dealt with hundreds of developing species over the millennia. Most submitted peacefully once they understood the power of the galactic hegemony. Those that refused were quickly eliminated as examples to others. There is one curious factor, Vex-Tar added, calling up new data. Human history shows they are surprisingly aggressive for such a primitive species. They have fought numerous wars among themselves, showing a willingness to sacrifice large numbers for relatively small gains. Savagery, Elder Kor thus observed. Many primitive species show such traits. They usually lose this aggression once they understand their position in the galactic order. The screen displayed human military history. Wars fought with crude weapons, soldiers carrying projectile rifles, tanks that moved on wheels instead of hovering above the ground. It all looked impossibly primitive to beings who had mastered energy manipulation and gravity control. Their individual warriors showed determination, Vextar noted. But determination cannot overcome technological inferiority. Our single lowest-rated enforcement ship carries more firepower than their entire planetary defense grid. Ethereal Prime Mind Zepyr's thoughts touched the Council again. Have they shown any signs of advanced research? Hidden facilities? Secret weapons projects? None that our surveillance has detected, Vextar replied. Their research facilities are open and poorly protected. We have complete records of their technological development. They are exactly what they appear to be, a species that developed space travel before they developed wisdom. General Throck stood up, his massive form casting shadows across the chamber. Then why are we wasting time with discussion? Send the enforcement fleet. Destroy enough of their ships to prove our superiority. They will surrender within hours. The process must be followed, reminded Chancellor Voth, the oldest member of the Council. His species had helped create the galactic hegemony 5,000 years ago. All developing species receive the same ultimatum. Submit to hegemony authority or face consequences. Very well, General Thrax sat back down. But I recommend we position the fleet close to their system. These humans may be too primitive to understand the honor being offered to them. Vextar nodded. The enforcement fleet is already moving into position. 500 ships, including 3 dreadnoughts and 15 heavy cruisers, more than enough to handle any resistance. The Council members reviewed the final data. Human population, 8 billion. Human military vessels, 237. Human energy output, less than a single hegemony mining station. Human territory, 1 star system. All in favor of proceeding with standard integration protocols? Chancellor Voth asked. 12 hands, claws, tentacles, and energy patterns rose in agreement. The vote was unanimous. Very well, the Chancellor declared. Admiral Vextar, transmit the ultimatum. Standard terms. 72 hours to respond. If they refuse or fail to reply, begin enforcement actions. As the Council members began filing out of the chamber, General Thrack paused beside Vextar. How long do you truly estimate this will take? Vextar checked his datapad one final time. From the moment we open fire to complete surrender? My computers estimate 2.3 hours maximum, possibly less if their command structure collapses quickly. Efficient, Thrack approved. I do enjoy working with precise species like yours. The chamber slowly emptied until only Vextar remained, staring at the tactical display. In his long career, he had participated in the integration of 47 species. Some submitted immediately upon seeing hegemony power. Others required demonstrations. A few fought briefly before accepting reality, but none had ever presented a real challenge. The galaxy was vast, but the laws of physics were constant. Superior technology always defeated inferior technology. Superior numbers always defeated inferior numbers. These humans possessed neither advantage. He transmitted the enforcement fleet's final orders and settled back to wait for humanity's inevitable surrender. Admiral Sarah Chen was drinking her morning coffee when the alarm systems throughout Luna Base began screaming. The hot liquid splashed across her uniform as she jumped to her feet. Red lights flashed in every corridor, and automated voices repeated the same message over and over. Priority Alpha Alert. All senior staff report to command immediately. She ran through the corridors of the moon-based military installation, her boots echoing against the metal floors. Other officers rushed past her, their faces tight with worry. In her 12 years of military service, Sarah had never heard a Priority Alpha Alert. Those were reserved for threats to human civilization itself. The command center was chaos when she arrived. Dozens of technicians worked frantically at their stations, while massive screens displayed incoming data from across the solar system. Admiral Kowalski, the overall commander of Earth's defense forces, stood in the center of it all. His gray hair disheveled and his face pale. "Sarah, thank God you're here," he said when he spotted her. "We've got a situation." "What kind of situation, sir?" she asked, though the sick feeling in her stomach already told her it was bad. "See for yourself." Kowalski pointed to the main display screen. The message was written in perfect English, transmitted simultaneously to every human communication system throughout the solar system. Earth, Mars, the asteroid mining stations, the research outposts around Jupiter. Everyone had received the same ultimatum at exactly the same moment. "People of Earth," the message began, "you are hereby notified that your species has been selected for integration into the galactic hegemony. This is an honor granted to worthy developing civilizations. You have 72 hours to respond with your unconditional surrender and acceptance of hegemony authority. Your military forces will be disbanded. Your political leaders will be taken into protective custody for education in galactic law. Resistance to this process will result in the complete elimination of your species as an example to others. You have been warned." Sarah read the message twice before the full meaning sank in. "Aliens," she whispered. "Gets better," Kowalski said grimly. He activated another screen. "Watch this." The video showed one of Jupiter's smaller moons, Europa 7, a chunk of ice and rock about 50 kilometers across. It had been used as a refueling station for deep space missions. Sarah could see the small human facility on its surface, along with the fuel tanks and landing pads. Then a beam of light struck the moon from somewhere beyond the camera's view. The entire celestial body simply vanished. One moment it existed, the next moment there was only empty space and a brief flash of energy. "They did that to show us what they're capable of," Kowalski explained. "Our long-range sensors detected the energy output. That single beam carried more power than every nuclear weapon humanity has ever built, combined." Sarah stared at the empty space where the moon had been. 200 people had worked on that station. Now they were gone. Erased without even time to scream. "Sir, what are our options?" she asked, though she feared the answer. "Officially? We're supposed to surrender." Kowalski walked over to another display showing radar contacts at the edge of the solar system. 500 alien ships are approaching. Each one is larger than our biggest vessel. Their smallest escort craft could probably take on our entire fleet. Sarah studied the tactical display. The alien formation was massive, moving with perfect precision through space. Their technology was clearly far beyond anything humanity possessed, but something about the situation bothered her. "They're taking their time," she observed. "If they wanted to destroy us immediately, why give us 3 days to think about it? Probably want us to surrender without a fight," suggested Colonel Martinez, the tactical officer. "Less mess that way." But Sarah wasn't convinced. She had spent years studying military history, and something felt wrong about the aliens' approach. "Sir? Permission to speak freely? Granted. This feels like a test. They're showing overwhelming force, but they're also giving us time to prepare. Why would they do that unless they wanted to see how we'd respond?" Kowalski looked thoughtful. "What are you suggesting?" "I'm not sure yet. But I recommend we activate Protocol Omega." Every officer in the room turned to stare at her. Protocol Omega was theoretical, a last resort defense plan that most people assumed would never be used. It had been developed by human scientists working with some very unusual theories about energy manipulation and space-time physics. "Sarah," Kowalski said carefully, "Protocol Omega has never been tested on this scale. We don't even know if it will work. We don't know if surrender will work either," she replied. "These aliens just vaporized 200 people to make a point. Do we really think they'll treat us gently once we're helpless?" The room fell silent except for the humming of computers and the distant sound of air recyclers. Everyone understood what she meant. Species that announced themselves by destroying civilian targets probably had harsh ideas about how to rule their new subjects. "All right," Kowalski decided. Activate Protocol Omega. Full deployment. The orders went out immediately. Across the solar system, human ships began moving into new positions. To any outside observer, it looked like random panic as vessels scattered to different locations. But Sarah knew the truth. Each ship was moving to precisely calculated coordinates based on complex mathematical formulas. Special cargo containers that had been stored in secret facilities for years were rapidly loaded onto every human vessel. The containers were heavy, filled with equipment that had never been tested in real combat conditions. Most of the ship captains didn't even know what they were carrying. Admiral Chen, one of the technicians, called out. "We're receiving communications from the alien fleet." "Put it on, speaker." A cold, electronic voice filled the room. "Human commanders, we have observed your military preparations. Your efforts are pointless. Our analysis indicates your entire fleet will be destroyed within 4 hours of engagement. We recommend immediate surrender to minimize casualties." Sarah grabbed the communication microphone. "This is Admiral Sarah Chen of the Earth Defense Force. Humanity thanks you for your generous offer, but we respectfully decline. We suggest you reconsider your assessment of our capabilities." There was a long pause before the alien voice responded. "Your response is noted. Enforcement will begin in 68 hours, 37 minutes. Prepare your people for integration or elimination." The communication ended, leaving the command center in tense silence. "Think they bought it?" Martinez asked quietly. "Doesn't matter," Sarah replied. "We are what we are. Time to find out if that's enough." She looked around at her fellow officers, seeing fear, but also determination in their faces. Humanity had always been good at fighting impossible odds. Their entire history was filled with examples of outnumbered forces finding ways to win against superior enemies. Of course, none of those enemies had possessed the power to vaporize moons. "All stations, this is Admiral Chen," she announced into the fleet communication system. "Begin Phase 1 deployment. All ships move to assigned coordinates. Cargo teams, prepare special equipment for immediate activation on my command." Around the solar system, human ships began their dance. To the watching aliens, it must have looked like chaos. Ships moving in seemingly random directions, spreading out instead of concentrating their forces, following patterns that appeared to make no tactical sense. But Sarah knew better. Every movement was part of a larger design. A three-dimensional puzzle that would only become clear when the final piece was put into place. She thought about the alien message, about their confidence that humanity would fall within hours. Maybe they were right. Maybe Protocol Omega would fail, and this would be humanity's final day. But if these aliens wanted a demonstration of human capabilities, they were about to get one they would never forget. The countdown had begun. Admiral Vextar watched the tactical display with satisfaction as his fleet moved deeper into the human solar system. The hegemony formation was perfect. 500 ships arranged in a diamond pattern that could bring maximum firepower to bear on any target. Each vessel maintained precise distance from its neighbors, their energy shields overlapping to create an impenetrable defensive barrier. "Status report," he commanded from his position on the bridge of the flagship Dominion's Edge. "All ships reporting ready status," his tactical officer replied. "Weapons charged to 50%. Shields at standard cruise configuration. Estimated time to engagement range: 14 hours, 26 minutes. Vex's Tar nodded approvingly. There was no need to rush. Let the humans have time to contemplate their situation. Fear was often more effective than violence at encouraging surrender. The communication panel chimed softly. "Admiral, incoming transmission from General Thrak aboard the Korthak Dreadnought Bone Crusher." On screen, the massive armored face of General Thrak appeared on the display. His species had evolved from predators, and it showed in every feature. Razor-sharp teeth, eyes that tracked movement with deadly precision, and scars that told of countless battles. "Vex Tar," Thrak growled. "My warriors grow restless. These humans scatter like frightened prey animals. Let me end this quickly." "Patience, General," Vex Tar replied calmly. "Observe their movements more carefully." The display changed to show the positions of human ships throughout the solar system. As Thrak had noted, they did appear to be scattering randomly. Instead of concentrating their forces for a unified defense, human vessels were spreading out to seemingly arbitrary locations. Some ships moved toward the outer planets, others held position near asteroid fields, still others drifted in empty space between worlds. "You see?" Thrak said with disgust. "They have no coherent strategy, no unified command. They panic like animals when faced with superior predators." But Vextar studied the patterns more carefully. His species had evolved analytical minds, capable of processing vast amounts of data simultaneously. Something about the human movements nagged at him, though he couldn't identify exactly what. "Computer, analyze human ship positions," he ordered. "Analysis complete." The ship's artificial intelligence replied in a neutral tone. "Human vessels are dispersing across approximately 47 million cubic kilometers of space. No apparent tactical formation detected. Estimated defensive value of current positioning, minimal." Vextar relaxed slightly. His instincts had been wrong. The humans really were just panicking, spreading their forces so thin that they could be defeated piecemeal. Another communication came in, this time from ethereal prime mind Zephyr. The ancient being's thoughts touched Vextar's mind directly, bypassing normal communication channels. "I sense great fear from the human populations," Zephyr projected. "Their emotional emanations are chaotic. Desperation. Hopelessness. Some resignation to fate. They understand they cannot win." "Excellent," Vextar thought back. "Any signs of hidden capabilities? Secret weapons? None that I can detect. Their minds are surprisingly easy to read. No mental barriers or psychic defenses. They think in straight lines, without the complexity I would expect from a species capable of surprises." This was encouraging news. Zephyr's people had psychic abilities that could penetrate almost any deception. If the ethereals detected no hidden advantages, then humanity truly possessed none. The hours passed slowly as the fleet continued its advance. Vextar received regular updates from his scouts and intelligence analysts. Everything confirmed their original assessment. Human ships were old and poorly maintained. Their energy signatures were weak. Their movement patterns showed no signs of advanced tactical thinking. "Admiral," his communications officer announced, "we're receiving a transmission from the human fleet commander." "Let me hear it." Admiral Sarah Chen's voice filled the bridge. "Hegemony Fleet, this is Admiral Chen. We have considered your ultimatum. Humanity's answer remains the same. We will defend our home system with everything we have." "Respond," Vextar ordered. His communications officer opened the channel. "Admiral Chen, this is Admiral Vextar of the Galactic Hegemony. Your resistance is admirable but futile. Our analysis indicates your fleet will be eliminated within 2.3 hours of engagement. Surrender now, and spare your people unnecessary suffering." "We appreciate your concern," Chen replied, and Vextar detected what sounded like amusement in her voice. "But humans have never been very good at surrendering. We prefer to make our enemies work for their victories." The transmission ended. General Thrak's voice immediately crackled over the intercom. "Did you hear that arrogance? These primitives mock us even as death approaches. I request permission to begin bombardment immediately." "Denied," Vextar replied firmly. "We follow standard procedures. Full engagement begins when we reach optimal firing position." But privately, he agreed with Thrak's assessment. Human arrogance was remarkable, considering their situation. Perhaps they truly didn't understand the magnitude of force arrayed against them. His tactical officer updated the countdown. 6 hours to engagement range, sir." Vextar decided to run one final analysis of human capabilities. "Computer, compile all data on human military technology. Cross-reference with known galactic development patterns." The analysis took several minutes. When it completed, the results were exactly as expected. Human technology consistent with Category 3 developing civilization parameters, the computer reported. Energy weapons approximately 180 years behind galactic standard. Defensive systems rated at 12% effectiveness against standard hegemony armaments. Probability of successful resistance, 0.00003%. Those odds were so low they were essentially zero. Vextar had participated in many enforcement actions, but rarely against such hopelessly outmatched opponents. "Sir," his sensor operator called out, "the humans are doing something strange." "Explain." "They're ejecting cargo containers from their ships, hundreds of them. The containers appear to be empty. No significant energy signatures or mass readings." Vextar frowned. "Jettisoning supplies? Are they trying to increase their speed and maneuverability?" "Negative, sir. The containers aren't being abandoned. They're being positioned at specific coordinates throughout the system, almost like they're setting up some kind of network." This was puzzling. Vextar studied the new data, trying to understand what the humans thought they were accomplishing. The containers appeared to be simple metal boxes with basic electronics inside. Nothing that could threaten a hegemony warship. "Perhaps some kind of sensor network?" suggested his tactical officer. "Trying to improve their detection capabilities?" "Possible," Vextar agreed. "Or perhaps they're placing distress beacons to call for help from other human colonies." Either way, it didn't matter. No sensor network could overcome the fundamental weakness of human technology, and no help was coming. The hegemony had already verified that this was humanity's only populated star system. "New message from the humans," the communications officer announced. "Play it." Admiral Chen's voice was calm and professional. "Hegemony fleet, be advised that we have completed our defensive preparations. We are ready to receive you." How considerate of them to announce their readiness to die. General Thrak's voice growled over the intercom. Vextar almost smiled. Human politeness in the face of annihilation was oddly touching. Many primitive species showed similar behavior when confronted with forces beyond their comprehension. "Final countdown initiated," his tactical officer reported. 3 hours to engagement range. Around him, the bridge crew began final battle preparations. Weapons systems came online with soft humming sounds. Shield generators increased power output. Sensor arrays focused on the scattered human vessels, cataloging each target for efficient destruction. Vextar felt the familiar calm that came before battle. Everything was proceeding according to plan. In a few hours, this primitive species would either surrender or be eliminated. Then the fleet could return to more important duties. He looked at the tactical display one last time, noting the positions of human ships and those mysterious cargo containers they had deployed. Whatever the humans thought they were accomplishing, it would make no difference against the overwhelming superiority of hegemony technology. "All ships," he announced to the fleet, "prepare for standard enforcement protocols. Anticipated duration of engagement, 2 hours maximum." The countdown continued, and with each passing minute, humanity's fate seemed more certain. At 14:27 GMT, Admiral Vextar gave the order that would change galactic history forever. "All ships, open fire. Target the closest human vessels. Full power bombardment." The space between Mars and Earth erupted in devastating energy beams. 500 hegemony ships unleashed their weapons simultaneously, creating a light show visible from every planet in the solar system. Massive energy bolts, each one capable of melting through a mountain, streaked toward the scattered human fleet. On the bridge of the Dominion's edge, Vextar watched with grim satisfaction as the attack began. His tactical display showed dozens of energy streams converging on human positions. In seconds, the primitive human ships would be reduced to glowing debris. But something was wrong. Instead of exploding or melting under the assault, the human ships seemed to absorb the energy. Their hulls glowed brighter with each hit, but they remained intact. Strange patterns of light began flowing across their surfaces, as if the energy was being channeled somewhere else. "Tactical officer, report," Vextar ordered, his calm beginning to crack. "Sir, our weapons are hitting their targets, but the humans aren't taking damage. Energy readings are impossible. It appears they're converting our attacks into some kind of power source." General Thrak's voice roared across the communication system. "What sorcery is this? My dreadnought's main cannon could vaporize an asteroid." But these human ships drink the energy like water. Admiral Vextar stared at his instruments in disbelief. The human fleet wasn't just surviving the bombardment. They were growing stronger. Energy flowed between their ships in visible streams of light, creating a web that spanned millions of kilometers. On Earth's Luna base, Admiral Sarah Chen watched the tactical display with fierce concentration. The Tesla protocol was working exactly as the scientists had predicted. Every alien energy blast was being captured, converted, and distributed throughout the human fleet via the network they had secretly established. Phase 1 complete, she announced to her command staff. All ships are now fully charged. Initiate Phase 2. The cargo containers that had puzzled the aliens revealed their true purpose. Each one contained a piece of technology based on theories that Nikola Tesla had developed centuries earlier. Theories about electricity, magnetism, and the fundamental forces that held the universe together. What had seemed like scattered junk to alien observers was actually a sophisticated energy management system. "Ma'am," Colonel Martinez reported, "all grid points are active. The entire inner solar system is now functioning as a single electrical circuit." Sarah nodded. The human ships weren't just individual vessels anymore. They were components in a massive machine that treated space itself as a conductor. Every alien energy blast fed power into the system, making it stronger. "Tesla protocol, full activation," she ordered. At 14:31 GMT, space around Earth became a storm of controlled lightning. The effect was instantaneous and devastating. Every human ship discharged its stored energy simultaneously, but not randomly. The carefully calculated positions created interference patterns that bypassed alien shields entirely. Instead of hitting the enemy's defensive barriers, the human energy beams struck directly at the quantum cores that powered hegemony vessels. Admiral Vex's tar felt his flagship shake as power systems throughout the ship began failing. Emergency alarms screamed as one by one. Critical systems went offline. "Damage report!" he shouted. "Sir, our quantum core is destabilizing. Whatever the humans hit us with, it's disrupting the fundamental particles that power our ship." Engineering reports total system failure in 4 minutes. Across the hegemony fleet, similar reports flooded in. Ships that had dominated the galaxy for millennia suddenly found themselves powerless, drifting in space as their technology failed. The humans hadn't just defended themselves, they had turned the aliens' own grouped formation against them. "Impossible." General Throck's voice came weakly over the communication system. "No primitive species possesses such knowledge. How do they manipulate quantum forces?" But the truth was becoming clear to Vextar as he watched his instruments fail one by one. The humans hadn't been primitive at all. They had been hiding their true capabilities, appearing weak while secretly developing technology that no other species had imagined possible. The human energy attacks came in waves, each one perfectly timed and coordinated. What had seemed like random ship positions now revealed themselves as a three-dimensional mathematical formula. Every human vessel was a node in a vast equation that covered the entire inner solar system. "Sir," Vextar's communications officer reported, "incoming transmission from the human fleet." Admiral Chen's voice filled the bridge, calm and professional despite the chaos around them. "Hegemony fleet, this is Admiral Chen of the Earth Defense Force. Your vessels are now neutralized. We recommend immediate surrender to prevent further damage." Vextar looked around his bridge. Half the control panels were dark, sparks flew from damaged circuits, and the artificial gravity was beginning to fluctuate. Through the viewports, he could see other hegemony ships in similar states of distress. "How?" he whispered into the communication pickup. "Our analysis showed you were centuries behind our technology." Chen's reply carried a note of amusement. "Admiral Vextar, your analysis was based on what you could see. Humans have learned to be very careful about what we show to strangers." The full scope of humanity's deception became clear. Every piece of technology the aliens had observed had been deliberately primitive. The real human capabilities had been hidden in secret research facilities, disguised as civilian equipment, or simply kept out of sight during the 50 years of observation. "Your quantum prediction matrices," Chen continued, "are excellent at calculating known variables. But humans specialize in finding variables that shouldn't exist. We call it innovation. Vextar's tactical display showed the final results. Of 500 hegemony ships, 437 were completely disabled. 58 had suffered critical damage but remained partially operational. Only 5 ships on the outer edges of the formation had escaped serious damage. The engagement had lasted exactly 12 minutes. Admiral, Chen's voice continued. We're prepared to accept your surrender. Medical ships are already moving to assist your damaged vessels. We have no desire to cause unnecessary casualties. General Thrax's dreadnought, the Bone Crusher, drifted past Vextar's viewport with its lights flickering weakly. The most feared warrior in the galaxy had been defeated by a species he had dismissed as prey animals. All hegemony vessels, Vextar transmitted to his fleet, cease all hostile actions, except human assistance. It was the hardest order he had ever given. But his duty was clear. His ships were powerless. His crew needed medical attention, and continued resistance would accomplish nothing except more casualties. Thank you, Admiral, Chen replied. Our recovery teams will begin operations immediately. Please instruct your crews to cooperate with rescue efforts. As human ships moved to assist the crippled hegemony fleet, Vextar tried to understand what had happened. The humans had used the aliens' own weapons against them, turning a massive assault into a power source for their defense grid. They had treated the entire inner solar system as a single electrical circuit, something no other species had ever attempted. Sir, his science officer said weakly, I'm detecting massive energy readings from the human ships. Whatever technology they used, it's still active. Vextar realized with a chill that the humans could have destroyed the entire hegemony fleet if they had chosen to. Instead, they had precisely disabled each ship without killing the crews. The level of control required for such precise strikes was beyond anything he had thought possible. A new transmission came from one of the undamaged human vessels. Hegemony Fleet. This is Captain Rodriguez aboard the Earth ship Tesla. We're beginning rescue operations. Please maintain position while we assist your damaged vessels. Even their ship names mocked the aliens' intelligence failure. Tesla. The human scientist whose theories had made their victory possible. The clues had been there all along, but the hegemony's arrogance had blinded them to the truth. As human medical teams boarded alien ships to provide assistance, Vextar began composing his report to the Galactic Council. How do you explain that the most powerful military force in the galaxy had been defeated in 12 minutes by a species they had classified as primitive? The answer was simple and terrifying. They had never been primitive at all. The emergency session of the Galactic Council convened within 6 hours of the defeat. For the first time in the organization's 5,000-year history, the meeting was held via long-range communication rather than in person. Most of the council members were trapped aboard disabled ships in human space, dependent on their former enemies for life support. Chancellor Voth's ancient face appeared on the main screen, transmitted from his drifting vessel. His species had helped found the hegemony, had overseen the integration of hundreds of worlds, and had never experienced military defeat. The shock showed clearly in his weathered features. Council members, he began, his voice hollow with disbelief. We must confront an unprecedented situation. The hegemony enforcement fleet has been neutralized by the species we designated as Category 3, Developing Aggressor. I call upon Admiral Vextar to explain how this was possible. Vextar's image joined the conference from the damaged bridge of the Dominion's edge. Behind him, human technicians worked alongside alien crew members to repair critical systems. The sight of humans helping their defeated enemies spoke volumes about humanity's character. Council members, Vextar began. I must report that our fundamental assessment of human capabilities was incorrect. The species demonstrated technology and tactical thinking far beyond our observations. Explain, demanded General Thrax from his medical bay aboard the Bone Crusher. The proud warrior's armor was cracked, and medical tubes connected him to life support systems. How does a primitive species defeat 500 of our finest ships? Vextar accessed his surviving data systems. The humans were never primitive. They engaged in a 50-year deception, deliberately showing us outdated technology while secretly developing advanced systems based on principles we had never encountered. The screen displayed recordings from the battle. Council members watched in stunned silence as human ships absorbed massive energy attacks and converted them into power for their counter-assault. Their ships acted as components in a single machine. Vextar continued. They treated the entire inner solar system as an electrical conductor, using our own weapons to charge a defense grid that spanned millions of kilometers. The precision required for such coordination indicates mathematical and engineering capabilities far beyond our initial estimates. Ethereal Prime Mind. Zepyr's thoughts touched the conference, carrying confusion and embarrassment. I read their minds during the approach. I sensed only simple, direct thinking patterns. How did they conceal such sophisticated planning? Because they think differently than we assumed, Vextar replied. Our psychic scans detected individual thoughts, but missed the collective intelligence of their species. Humans don't plan like other species. They innovate through chaos, finding solutions that shouldn't work according to established science. Elder Kor thus raised one of his 6 arms. What of their technology? How did they develop energy manipulation systems that could bypass our shields? They call it the Tesla Protocol, Vextar explained, based on theories developed by a human scientist named Nikola Tesla over 2 centuries ago. While we focused on increasingly complex technology, humans explored fundamental forces in ways no other species had attempted. Commander Silana's crystalline form shimmered with agitation. Are you saying they surpassed our science by going backward? Not backward, Vextar corrected. Lateral. They approached physics from angles we had never considered. Their energy conversion systems don't just use electricity. They treat space itself as a conductor. They can turn any energy attack into power for their own systems. The implications of this revelation struck the Council like a physical blow. If humans could neutralize energy weapons by converting them into power sources, then every standard military tactic in the galactic arsenal was useless against them. Status of our fleet? Chancellor Voth asked quietly. 437 ships, completely disabled, 58 critically damaged, 5 ships with minor damage only, no fatalities among our personnel, thanks to human medical assistance. Vextar paused. The humans could have destroyed us all, but chose not to. Their precision was unprecedented. General Thrak growled from his medical bay. Why show mercy to enemies? It makes no tactical sense. A new voice joined the conference. Admiral Sarah Chen, speaking from Luna Base. The humans had been listening to the emergency session, monitoring hegemony communications with ease. If I may answer that question, Chen said politely. Humans generally prefer not to kill when other options exist. We've found that living enemies can become future allies, while dead ones remain permanently hostile. The council members stared at her image on their screens. Here was the architect of their defeat, speaking calmly about mercy and future cooperation. Admiral Chen, Chancellor Voth said carefully, what are humanity's intentions now? Simple, Chen replied. We want to continue our peaceful development without interference. We're willing to engage in diplomatic contact and trade relationships with any species that approaches us respectfully. However, future threats against Earth or human colonies will be met with escalating responses. Escalating responses? Elder Kor thus asked. You mean you have capabilities beyond what we've already seen? Chen smiled. Let's just say that the Tesla Protocol was our least advanced defensive system. We preferred to start with something relatively simple. A chill ran through the council members. If the technology that had effortlessly defeated their fleet was considered simple by human standards, what else were they capable of? Admiral, Chancellor Voth said, what would you require for peaceful coexistence? Recognition of human sovereignty over our territory, Chen replied promptly. Cessation of surveillance activities in our space, and a formal apology to the families of the 200 people you killed on Europa 7 to demonstrate your power. The demands were reasonable, almost surprisingly so. Many species that had just achieved such a decisive military victory would have demanded tribute, territory, or subjugation of their defeated enemies. The Council will vote on these terms, Voth said. but I believe I can speak for all members when I say they are acceptable. Excellent. There's one more thing. Chen's expression became more serious. We're transmitting new data files to update your records on human capabilities. We suggest you share this information with other members of the Galactic Hegemony. It might prevent future misunderstandings. Admiral Vex-Tar received the data transmission and nearly choked when he saw its contents. The files contained detailed specifications for human technology that was decades ahead of anything the hegemony possessed. Faster-than-light communication systems, gravity manipulation devices, energy matter conversion processes, technologies that would revolutionize galactic civilization. Admiral Chen, he said slowly, why are you sharing this information? Because knowledge grows when it's shared, she replied. Humans believe that everyone benefits when science advances. We're not interested in maintaining technological superiority through secrecy. The generosity was staggering. After defeating the most powerful force in the galaxy, humanity was offering to share advanced technology freely. It was behavior so contrary to normal galactic politics that several council members wondered if it was another deception. But Ethereal Prime Mind, Zephyr's thoughts confirmed the truth. I sense no deception from the human commander. Their offer is genuine. They truly believe cooperation benefits everyone. Then, perhaps, Chancellor Voth said thoughtfully, we should reconsider our approach to galactic governance. If a species can achieve such capabilities while maintaining such principles, perhaps there are lessons we could learn. The session continued for several more hours as council members grappled with the new reality. The galactic hegemony, built on the assumption that superior force ensured order, had encountered a species that proved force was meaningless against sufficient ingenuity. As the conference ended, Admiral Vex-Tar sat alone on his damaged bridge, composing his final report. The computer had already updated humanity's classification in the galactic database, where once it read, Category 3, Developing Aggressor. It now displayed a new designation. Category Unknown. Capabilities Unmeasurable. He thought about the past 50 years of observation. All the data they had collected. All the careful analysis that had proven so completely wrong. The humans had hidden their true nature not through sophisticated deception, but through simple misdirection. They had shown the galaxy exactly what they wanted it to see. A soft chime announced an incoming message. Admiral Chen appeared on his screen, looking tired but satisfied. Admiral Vex-Tar, she said. I wanted to thank you personally for your cooperation during the rescue operations. Your crew's professionalism made the medical assistance much easier. 8. The thanks should go to you, Vex-Tar replied. Your people saved lives they had every right to take. That's what civilized species do, Chen said simply. We hope this incident can be the beginning of a more productive relationship between our peoples. After the transmission ended, Vex-Tar stared out at the stars surrounding Earth's solar system. Somewhere among them were hundreds of other species that the hegemony governed through fear and superior force. What would happen when word spread that a single human fleet had neutralized 500 hegemony ships in 12 minutes? The galaxy was about to change in ways no one could predict, and at the center of that change was humanity, a species that had proven that the impossible was simply another word for something that hadn't been invented yet. Vex-Tar began typing his recommendation to the Galactic Council. Recommend immediate diplomatic engagement with humanity. Military confrontation inadvisable under any circumstances. Suggest all hegemony forces maintain respectful distance from human territory. He paused, then added one final note. Humanity has demonstrated that superior technology is less important than superior thinking. The galaxy would benefit from learning this lesson. 1043. Active the 43. 1043. Also Daewo. Dia. In the depths of space, human ships continued their patient assistance of the defeated alien fleet, turning enemies into potential friends, one rescue at a time.